All right. So I think we're going to start. Well, good morning. Okay, let's try one more time. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent. Welcome to our session on creating a culture of client excellence. My name is Leonardo Inghilleri, and I'm sure you're probably detecting a slight accent in my voice, yes? So yes, absolutely, yes. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm not a native of Georgia, if you were thinking about that. Not that you would understand me any better if I were a native of Georgia, frankly. No, I was born in Rome, Italy, and therefore I know everything, which is a good trait for a consultant, isn't it? Well, after all, we had hot running water in our homes when everybody else was living in huts, right? So I guess I can make that statement. All right, so we're going to spend some time together on this important issue of creating a culture of service excellence, of client service in a firm. Before we do that, perhaps I'll tell you a few things about myself, and so that you also get familiar with my accent, and then we'll get going. All right, so I manage this firm called ICG, Inghilleri Consulting Group. For the past 9 years, I was at the helm of a different consulting firm, but as of January, I took over the firm and I started our new one. So what you have on your program is not quite accurate when it comes to my current company. I'll give you my email address later on, don't worry about it. So I worked in the consulting business now for the past 10 years. Prior to that, I worked with the Ritz-Carlton for many, many years. I was in charge of human resources. I've done a number of executive jobs. I was the president of Bulgari Hotels and Resorts. There was a joint venture between the Ritz-Carlton and Bulgari, the Italian jewelry maker. Prior to that, I worked with the Walt Disney Company for a number of years. I'm one of those who opened Euro Disney. Still have a few nightmares from that experience. Bringing an American concept to Paris, gosh, challenging. And then I spent all my life really in service and hospitality. I've been in the United States for 27 years now, which is pretty much half of my life. So if you are trying to do the math, I'm 54. So that's it. Been married for 25, same wife. Sometimes you need to say that too. And I have 3 sons. 2 are boys. I have an older son who is a junior at Georgia Southern, and finally this year is doing a little better after we had a significant discussion at the end of last year. He's been in academic probation, in and out, academic probation for the past 2 years, and he wants to be a teacher, so that was not going to work well for him. So, I need to kind of use some convincing methods, most of them tied to the bank account. That's just. And then I have another son who is a freshman at the Honors College at University of South Carolina. So as Dr. King said a few years ago, free at last, free at last, free at last. Now then I have a third son who's by far my favorite one. He's the only one who's happy to see me when I come back from a business trip. He is white and fluffy. His name is Oliver. He's my dog. And I think he knows he's my favorite one, and so do the other 2 boys. So that's anyhow. So that's me. What else? What else can I tell you? I have a passion for people. I have a passion for training. I like to share. I practice martial arts. I have a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo. So I like discussion and debates. Just don't argue with me. Okay? All right. We're ready to go. Terrific. So let's start with a couple of concepts that really we live in an experienced society. Do you agree? Oh, by the way, participation is good. I know there's a big room, etc., but participating in a session like this is always helpful for 2 reasons. First of all, you will retain more notions. And participating means don't waste your time with your little toys, Blackberries, smartphones, and other things. Take notes. You're stuck with me for an hour, so just So when asked question, answer, with your mouth, not with your head. That's part of participating. Take notes whenever, every now and then, I'll tell you, write this down, do so. And at the end, you might have a greater benefit out of this session. All right, so it's clear that we live in an experience society. Experiences is what is driving most of the service businesses. And that applies also to law firm. And the tricky part about being in an experienced, quote unquote, society is that you are constantly judged by the same standards used by the best organizations in the world. So in other words, your clients every day experience great service, exceptional service, mediocre service, average service, and whenever they have an exceptional experience, that exceptional experience reset the benchmark for them, right? So as a law firm today, when it comes, for instance, to telephone practices, you're not judged against the best law firms, because in that case, the bench would be relatively low, by the way. No, you're judged by the best practices of the best organizations and the best call centers in the world. Organizations like, Zappos or Amazon or American Express, they set the standards when it comes to telephone practices. When it comes to the experience in your reception, in your offices, you arrive and there is a receptionist, and that experience is not established by your best competitors in town. No, it's established by the best hotels that your customers, your clients are experiencing. So in other words, organizations like the Ritz-Carlton, like Four Seasons, like Amazon, like Zappos, they reset the expectations for your clients. And that's a challenge, because now you're not competing with other law firms. You're really competing with everybody else. Now you're saying, well, we are a law firm. We're not really a business. We're different things. Yes, do you agree with that concept? Hopefully not. I know that this is what your lawyers think all the time. We're different. Yeah, I know you're different, but no, you're not. No, you're really not. Because ultimately, as a firm, what do? You pursue fundamentally 4 key objectives. Objective number 1, you want to keep your clients, yes? All of them. Even those that you would like to lose, but still the concept is that ideally you want to keep all your clients, so 100% client retention. Objective number 2, you want to get more clients, right? Objective number 3, to get as much money as you can from your existing clients. I mean, legally, of course, that would be a good thing to do. And objective number 3, you would like to improve your efficiencies. So those are good objectives for a law firm, but they're also great objectives for any other organization. So in other words, if you are a car manufacturer, a hospital, a hotel company, a restaurant, a retail organization, you pursue exactly the same objectives as a law firm. So, as a law firm, you're not different. You're not different. So, because you're not different, the principles around performance excellence, service excellence, performance excellence, in other words, to be a great organization, really apply to you as law firms as they apply to any other organization. So you do not have to reinvent the wheel. You can go out and study other businesses and learn from them, and then import those best practices within the firm. Is this going to be easy? Absolutely not, because one of your main obstacles is going to be, guess who? Your lawyers, who are kind of resistant to change. Yes? Say yes. Okay. So you see, if you don't participate, I'll just order it around. Don't worry about it. But that's what it is. At the same time, you need to have a compelling case for them. So let's talk about service excellence. Let's talk about performance excellence. How to be a great organization, a great business. Let's start at the strategic level, and then we'll get down at a law firm level. All right, first of all, what's a great company? A great company is a provider. This is a definition by Ken Blanchard, by the way. Ken is a dear friend of mine, and he does not mind if I use this definition. A great company is a provider of choice. In other words, companies like other, consumers like to buy your products better than those of the competition. Obviously, is an employer of choice. People like to work for you better than the competition. Is a business partner of choice. Other organizations like to partner with you because you're a good company. You pay your bills on time. You're honorable. You do what you said you were going to do, etc. A great company is also an investment of choice. In other words, a great company is successful, is profitable. There's nothing wrong with being profitable. Sometimes we're not discussing what organizations do with profits. That's the morality of business. We're not going to talk into that. But great organizations are also successful, and profits is one of those measures. And ultimately, a great organization is a neighbor of choice. In other words, they're actively involved in community and society. So that's what, if you want to be a great company, you're great for your customers, great for your employees, you're great for your business partners, you are successful, and you're also a contributor to community and society. So how do you get there? You see, I work for the Walt Disney Company, and I hate to tell you that there is no pixie dust. You remember pixie dust, Tinkerbell, the little fairy? You take her pixie dust and everybody flies. It's a lie. I mean, there is not a magic powder that we can put in the air conditioning system of a building and then suddenly everybody is great. It just doesn't work that way. So there is a model out there that is proven to deliver excellent results. So let's talk about the components of that model, because that eventually will lead us to discuss client service excellence. All right, first and foremost, you need to have a distinctive brand identity and culture. There is no great generic company out there. You know that? There is no great generic company. There are only great brands. So think about, for instance, a great brand. All right, let's choose one. BMW. Do you remember their brand promise? There is something that they say every single time, whenever they make an ad, either on TV or in print, about their company. The ultimate driving machine, absolutely. That's their brand promise. In other words, as an organization, they tell you, when you buy a BMW, this is what you get. You get an ultimate driving machine. Ultimate, whatever that means for you. It's kind of an esoteric concept, but it's a driving machine. It's something that's going to give a lot of pleasure to the driver. And if you look at their product line, fundamentally, BMW produces luxury, performance-oriented cars. Good to the last, drop. Just do it, right? So what are they telling you? Nike is telling you, we're going to sell you everything, from the hats to the bats to the shorts to the t-shirts to the equipment, and the only thing left for you to do is just do it, right? And the coffee will be good to the last drop. Now, for as long as you keep your promise, your clients will be happy. And they will continue to come back, and you will be able to, by the way, charge them more, because people are willing to pay a premium for a brand. Do you agree? Okay, show me your Louis Vuitton bags. Okay, show me your Gucci bags. Show me your Ferragamo shoes. Show me your Rolex watches. I mean, I'm sure you have some brand. Okay, show me your iPhones. Yeah. So why do you have them? Why do you pay more for those things? Why are you willing to pay more for a logoed item? Because that sends a clear message to you. They have a clear brand identity. Now, is that important for a law firm? Absolutely. It's important for any business. And we proved earlier that a law firm, it's like any other business. So successful law firms, like other successful businesses, need to be able to articulate a compelling case about their brand. about their culture, about who they are, where they, I mean, what's brand? What's culture? Fundamentally, it's the DNA of the organization, isn't it? It's what makes you different from the competition so that you can be recognizable in a sea of competitors. Let's assume we were to take a big group picture here. Everybody comes on this side of the room. No, don't. But let's assume everybody will come on this side of the room and we take a big picture. Who would you notice in that picture? Nobody. It's a group picture. Now, on the other hand, if I get a chair and I stand up on that picture, who do you think you'll notice? Me. So the idea as a law firm is to find for yourself a chair that you can use to stand up on, in a group photo. Well, why is that important? It's an important component because most of the law firms, if you think about it, they're just aggregation of law offices. Do you agree? Aggregation of law offices without a distinctive, clearly articulated brand identity and operating philosophy, without a distinctive DNA. And I'll tell you more, that when you look at those offices, within the office you have aggregation of practices and aggregation of individual performers, yes? Is this a picture that you agree upon, yes or no? It is. It's the reality of this business. So it is a challenge for you, the keepers of the brand, those who should be able to articulate what the firm stands for, what's different about your firm. It's a challenge for you to articulate, those elements of the culture of the brand. So we're going to talk about how to do that a little later. But so it is certainly a challenge that you have. Now, why is it important to have a distinctive culture and operating philosophy? Because you do not want to be a commodity. I mean, this is the biggest risk that you have today. And by the way, consumers, clients will push you to become a commodity. Do you agree? Yes or no? Of course. If I'm a client and I'm going to talk to Kim. Sorry, Kim, I forgot your name. And says, Kim, I have a piece of business for you. I have a case. How much do you want to deal with it? And Kim will say, well, we'll do that for $500 an hour, right? Fair? So, okay, that's interesting. And then I'm going to go to Stacy and say, Stacy, I have, nice seeing you. I have an interesting piece of business. How much do you want an hour? $500 an hour. Oh, $500 an hour. You know what? I already have an offer for $500 an hour from another firm. Can you do better than that? Stacy's going to think about it and going to say, what? Yeah, we'll do it for $475, right? So I go back to Kim and says, Kim, nice seeing you. Good news, bad news. That case we talked about is still there, but the issue is that I have now an offer for $475. Can you do it for $450? Yes or no? Of course I'll do that for $450. Oh, thank you so much for helping me in this case. Stacy, great seeing you today. And I'm going to go back and forth until I will drive the cost of that project to the possible level. Is there anything wrong in what I'm doing? Yes or no? I know you don't like it, but is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. As a client, I can certainly do that. And your clients do it. Yes? So how do you stop the madness? How can you differentiate yourself? Because eventually one of the two is going to opt out and say, I'm sorry, I cannot do it at that level. Right? Okay, well, I'll take the lowest possible offer. So how can you stop the madness in that case? Well, it's relatively simple. You need to be able to look at me straight in the eyes and say, Leonardo, I understand exactly what you're doing, and I appreciate it, but let me tell you that if you hire us as a firm, this is what we are going to do for you. This is what is going to be different about us. This is what you can expect. This is your personal benefit. Write this concept down, quote unquote, personal benefit. Because unless you can clearly articulate my personal benefit as a client in working with you, then you're just a commodity. And that's a little bit of a problem. Do you agree? It's a huge problem. You see, all right, let's talk about value for a second. What's value? The equation for value is the following. Write it down. Value, V, equals cost, big dollar sign, minus inconvenience, spell it out, inconvenience, plus personal benefit, right? Value, what I get out of something, is based upon the cost, the convenience to acquire it, and the personal benefit that I derive from buying that product or service. So when it comes to commodities, gasoline for your car, obviously, what are you going to do? You're going to buy gas at the station where the gas is at the lowest price, and it's also close to you, because really gas is gas. There's no real personal benefit in it. And so as a firm, unless you want to be relegated to the role of a gas station for legal services, you need to clearly tell me what my personal benefit is going to be. So how do you build it? All right, well, I told you that I come from the hotel industry, so I'm going to give you an example that is hotel-based. Let's assume that I'm coming to your office to meet with your team, and your office is here, and I need to fly the night before, and I need to stay in a hotel, and there is a hotel here that is 2 miles away, or let's make it 2 blocks away, and $300 a night. And then there is another hotel that is 6 blocks away, $350 a night. On a superficial analysis, obviously the hotel that is closer and cheaper will provide me with greater value, right? With greater value, because it's cheaper and more convenient. Dollar sign minus inconvenience, right? And so obviously I'm going to book that hotel since I don't know either. And I have a good stay. Everything is fine. Then I come back the following month. Of course, I'll try to book again this hotel, but this hotel is fully booked. And I remember that there was another one a few blocks down the road, a little more expensive. And I get there and I have an equally pleasant experience. I come back one more time the following month, and again, I will try to book the cheaper, closer hotel. Why? Because it takes more than 1 or 2 iterations to develop quote-unquote loyalty. And we'll talk about that too. And I will end up booking this other hotel that is further down, a little more expensive. And when I get there, as I enter the hotel, there is a nice receptionist who looks at me and says, "Oh, Mr. Inghilleri, welcome back to our hotel. We were expecting you." "Oh, thank you so much. And by the way, your room is ready exactly how you wanted. And by the way, sir, you look terrific. Did you lose some weight?" "Well, as a matter of fact, I did." "What do you think is happening to my peacock feathers right now?" "They're going to go this way, right?" Look at it. They're nice. They even noticed that I lost some weight. Now, my room is ready exactly how I wanted it. Well, how did I want my room? Well, it's my room after all, right? So maybe I have allergies and I need hypoallergenic pillows and 3 extra boxes of Kleenex. Maybe I have phobias and I want a low floor next to the emergency exit. You never know about the earthquakes. They can happen any day. Or maybe I'm a recovering alcoholic and I need the minibar emptied. Or maybe I'm a Mormon and I want the minibar emptied. By the way, I'm neither. I'm a consultant, so nobody should touch my minibar in general. At the end of the day, they get certainly used. But you see, what is happening is that this hotel was able to personalize the experience and deliver what? A greater personal benefit. And if those things are important to me, then the fact that the hotel is further down the road and costs a little more becomes secondary. As simple as that. So don't ever buy the excuse that Oh, that other firm was able to secure the piece of business because their office is closer to the client, or they secured that piece of business because they charged less. I mean, that's a lie. Come on. You know that? I know that. They were able to secure the piece of business because they were able to articulate a superior value proposition, which might have been just based on fees. I'm not excluding that. I mean, that's the reason why people ultimately go to those, big, where, you lose your car in the parking lot, right? And you're forced to buy things in quantities that are enormous, that will last you 3 lifetimes, right? And then at the end, you're in line for a long time, and then there is that guy at the exit. I think that those are former KGB agents. You know, the guy who checks your receipt? Why do they do that? I mean, never quite. I think it's a former, the KGB is still actually, maybe it's a current KGB agent still checking, the spending patterns of Americans. I don't know why they do that, because you're not going to tell me that they're reading the receipt and checking the items. They look at it and kind of scribble and let you go. So anyhow, why do we do this? Because lots of people think that cost is an important element. So we're willing to drive further down the highway, get to one of those big box stores, lose the car in the parking lot, deal with the KGB, buying quantities that were going to last us a lifetime, only because of cost. Right. So yeah, there are some price-sensitive individuals, but in your business, personal benefit is a big driver. It's a big driver. So, as a marketer, question number 1 for you, and you don't have to answer today, but it's something that you want to start thinking about it as you go back. How am I going to articulate? How am I going to define? How am I going to convince my lawyers that in order to get business, they need to create a personal benefit for the clients? Because I'll tell you, if you can do that, you'll win every single time. Every single time. So now we're going to talk about it in a second as we get into personalized service, personalized client service. Now, the model for performance excellence, a distinctive brand and culture. Then the second element would be a strong client focus, right? So let's talk about that. What does it mean to have a strong client focus? What does it mean to be a client-centered firm? It means that you're going to be glued, velcroed to your clients. That's how it works. This is you, and this is your client. You go to your client and says, what do you want? I mean, in nicer terms, right? And then the client looks at you and says, well, I want this, whatever this is. Product, service, the concept applies to everything. Can you do this for me? Oh, yes, I can. Let me just go make it, bring it back. Here it is. Do you like it? And the client looks at it and says, oh, I like it very much. But since you are there, can you make it this way? That's an interesting question. I think I can. So let me go back, bring it back to you one more time. Do you like it now in the new version? Oh, I like it very, very much. But since you're there, can you spray paint it red? Yeah, I can. So you go back, you produce it, you bring it back to your client and says, do you like it now? And the client is going to say, oh, I love it. Little hearts, right? For now. Because that is the challenge in business. You cannot just connect with the clients once. You need to stay close to them all the time. You need to have this intense dialogue with your clients, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until you clearly understand what they need from you, right? And you deliver it to them. And then you need to continue to do the same thing over and over, because otherwise you lose those clients. Otherwise, you will lose those clients. How many times you had a partner who walked into the office of the firm and says, you remember that company? We had them for 20 years. They just fired us. And everybody's surprised and shocked. How could they do that? Did it ever happen to you, yes or no? Yes, of course. Well, it should have not happened. If you stayed connected, this is a concept of client intimacy, which by the way has nothing to do with beds. Client intimacy, to be intimately connected with a client. When you do that, then you will know everything that the client is thinking. You know, you're glued to those clients, and if they move a little bit, you're Velcro to them and you move with them. They move a little further and you go with them. And you're never going to be surprised by them. They're never going to abandon you for somebody else. Now you'll say, well, yeah, everybody should do that. Oh, sure. I mean, think about the automotive industry in our country. You know, in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, we were the standard of the world. Everybody would come to America, learning our production cycles and processes, visit our factories. You know, everybody loved our cars. Then obviously, as you remember, cars in the 70s, they were not very good, but nobody was really good at making cars at that time. And then what happened in the 80s? Don't tell me that the Japanese arrived, because they were already producing cars in their little islands since the turn of the century. But Japanese and European automakers started to produce cars that were more aligned with the needs of the consumers, right? We had gone through a major oil embargo, so those big cruisers of ours with the big engines weren't really that practical anymore, so they started to produce more fuel-efficient cars. Because of the economic boom of the 50s, suddenly everybody had cars, so the roads were congested and they started to make smaller cars. And so slowly but surely we started to lose market shares. And what used to be the standard of the world, well, eventually we had to rescue them from being bankrupt and from disappearing. So you see, it is not that intuitive. Business understands the concept, but then the idea of being intimately connected with the clients, with the customers, is not applied all the time. All right, so now let's talk about how do you become a client-centered organization? How do you create that internal culture that focuses on client service? Well, let's look at the model. There is a model out there. Ultimately what you would like to do is to create clients who are loyal to you. There is value in loyalty, yes? Absolutely, huge value in loyalty. Huge value in loyalty. There are organizations like, for instance, the Walt Disney Company, that really their strategic value is based on customer loyalty. If you go to a Disney park, you will often see 3 generations of customers within the same family. You have the grandparents, you have the parents, and you have the kids. And they're all together and they're all having a great time for different reasons. And that is generational loyalty. Is that something special? Absolutely. And I can tell you that the Walt Disney Company has gone through ups and downs when it comes to their management. Their executive skills, their ability to really compete, and yet, they've been able to survive and thrive because of the value of customer loyalty that they have been able to create. So customer loyalty is really critical in a business. But as we were saying earlier, there is no pixie dust, there is no magic wand. It's not that you can say, I really want my clients to be loyal. There is a process. You need to build it. So how you do that? All right. First and foremost, you need to start with the concept of customer satisfaction. Because unless you're catering to masochists, it'll be difficult to transition a dissatisfied client to a loyal one. So first of all, you need to start with client satisfaction. How do you build satisfaction? In business, it's pretty simple. First of all, you need to deliver a defect-free product or service. No mistakes in what you're doing. No mistakes in what you're doing. This product or service needs to be delivered on time by nice people. Now that's tricky because, oh, you don't know my lawyers. I know your lawyers. You just need to train them to be nice. You need to make sure that they understand the importance of this issue of caring. Oh, you do not know my lawyers. I know your lawyers. But that's where you need to hammer them. If you want to be better and different, if you want to be recognizable, if you want to become a brand, if you want to deliver a superior value proposition, if you want to articulate a greater personal benefit for the client, you need to do 3 things. You need to be good at what you're doing. No mistakes in your product and services. Number 1. You need to be on time, and you need to be nice. And the tricky part is that all this needs to happen at the same time. Not 2 out of 3, not 1 out of 3. It's 3 out of 3. Yes, ma'am. All right, so the question is, some clients say, well, we really don't want nice lawyers, we want mean lawyers. Well, that's possible, but the idea here is that the secretary of your clients, when he's dealing with you as a law firm, needs to deal with people who are nice. I mean, it's not only the lawyer, it's the entire product or service, the establishment, right? Now, the individual styles, yeah, I mean, you have litigators who are supposed to be Rottweilers and you keep them in a cage. Don't let them talk to anyone because you know that they will ruin the relationships. Have other people like you, nice people, who go and articulate your case. That's a different story, right? But the concept is, in order to create satisfaction, the service provider, the firm, not just the lawyer, the firm needs to be competent, needs to be timely, and needs to be nice. And it needs to happen at the same time. Because I'll tell you that if you are really, really good at what you're doing and you are also very, very nice, but you're always late, do you think you'll stay in business, yes or no? Say no. Of course not. Now, if you are always on time and very, very nice, but you are incompetent, do you think you'll stay in business? Probably not. Now, the challenge is, and this is what the lawyers sometimes think erroneously, is that I'm really good at what I'm doing, and I'm very professional, and I'm always on time. Therefore, I don't need to be nice. BS. You see, another organization that follows that approach is the IRS. Now, what business are they in? Service. As a matter of fact, their name is Internal Revenue Service. So clearly service is their business. Are they good at what they're doing? Yeah. They know those tax codes better than anybody else. Are they always on time? Try not to pay your taxes on time. See what happens. Are they nice? No. Do you like the IRS? Question mark. No. Is there anybody who likes the IRS out there? No. So why do you want to be like the IRS? Because if you don't focus on this concept of caring for the client, you're just like the IRS. Now, that's a compelling argument that you can make with your lawyers. So in order to satisfy the client, satisfaction happens when you do these 3 things at the same time. You say, well, but caring, that's a complicated issue to articulate, etc. Not really. Not really. What it means is that the experience with your firm from a client perspective needs to be pleasant. Caring, nice service is pleasant in nature. Do you agree? I mean, when you go to a store, do you like to be mistreated? Yes or no? No. So you want to have a nice experience. So how do you build that experience? Even in a law firm. And by the way, building that experience accelerate the confidence the clients have in you as an organization. This is how it works. This is the experience, and it's made of a sequence of touch points, of client service events. Every single time that you come in contact with a client or with a client organization, that is a client service touch point. Does that make sense? Yes? Right. So what are touch points? Answering the phone is a touch point. You know, how pleasant your receptionist is a touch point. Validating the parking tickets of your clients is a touch point. An accurate bill is a touch point. You know, an accurate invoice is a touch point. Responding to emails on time is a touch point. All of them are. The way you set up a meeting room for a client event. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in a law firm and, you know, where meetings, important meetings with, you know, the executive committee, with the managing partner, etc. And I looked at the meeting room and I can tell you, now I have a little bit of a bias because I grew up in the hospitality business, so I pay attention to details. They should be ashamed of what they... Have you ever opened the cupboards in your meeting rooms? You know what you'll find in most cases? Abandoned IT equipment, you know, empty sodas, or enormous stacks of supplies that it'll take 6 years to use, right? Have you ever opened one of your closets in your reception? You know, those that the client, you know, when they arrive in the reception, say, oh, where can I put my coat? Oh, in the closet. And when you open the closet, you know, you find abandoned laundry, the shoes of the receptionist, you know, the sneakers of the receptionist, some easels and additional boxes yet. And if you pass your hand on the rack, well, you know, it's not going to be a pleasant experience. I mean, do the closet test. Go back tomorrow to, when you go back to your firm on Monday, go check your closet and your meeting rooms. Now, you see, you might say, well, that's kind of excessive. No, it is not. It's not, because listen, as a client of a law firm, and I'm a client of law firms too, I am not going to judge you on the quality of your legal advice. I trust you for that. You know, that is your entry ticket. If you try to convince me that the reason why I should hire you is that you have competent lawyers, try again. You know, I remember having a discussion with a managing partner of a firm a few years ago, and I said, okay, tell me why I should hire you. Well, you know, we're really knowledgeable, okay? So is your competition. Well, we have talented lawyers, so does your competition. You know, we have experience, okay, so does the firm next door. You know, at the end, the guy looked at me and says, you know, we know the law. And I said, well, so does the competition. You haven't told me anything different than your competitors. Why should I hire you? And then suddenly, obviously, he had a revelation. And as a matter of fact, they really turned a corner. I mean, he suddenly realized that there was just more than the ticket to play, because all those elements is just your entry ticket, right? So, and I was telling you that as a client of a law firm, I'm not going to judge you on the quality of your legal advice, but I'm going to judge you on anything else. I'm a business person. So when you answer the phone in a way that is, from my perspective, not professional, I'm going to judge you on that. When I get into a meeting room and the meeting room is not properly set up, or the way I would have set it up in my office, I'm going to judge you on that. If I look at your closet where I'm going to put my luggage and coat, and I see that it's messy, I'm going to judge you on that. And from my perspective, if you are not able to do what I consider the simple things, how do I know you're good at the complicated things? Isn't that true? Yes, sir.
And as you're talking, I appreciate what you're saying about the physical space and setup. Mm-hmm. But I think there's also an element to this that we all experience with, I'm thinking particularly of RFPs. I'm now a director at my firm, and I get proposals to buy new vendor products.
Right.
And when I get it, I always go to the very last page to see how much they want to charge me. But I want it right there on the front page. But I know when I do RFPs, a lot of times the price is the last thing that we put in there. So from a customer service perspective in an RFP, would you recommend that we're sort of thinking and putting everything up front where they would want to find it to make it easy for you?
I would say yes. I would say yes. To me, I would say yes, but price placement is a really important element. As a matter of fact, if you work with retail organizations, they will place the price right up front, but they will also make sure that the merchandise is properly displayed. So your challenge is, how do you quote unquote display the personal benefit, what you get, at the same time that you are telling the client what they're going to pay for it. Tricky. To do it in a document is tricky, because I agree with you. I do the same thing. When I send out a proposal to a client, as a matter of fact, I try to frame the cost of the initiatives right up front in the executive, summary of the proposal. But that's me. Absolutely. You need to be able to make a compelling case right there. Or at least you need to be able to drive the client to read through your case. Got to be some interest, otherwise it's not going to happen. And that is traditionally, let me tell you, if you have a clear brand identity, you're not going to have that problem, because the client is going to look at your BMW that is labeled as the ultimate driving machine, and he or she already knows that that is an ultimate driving machine. It doesn't have to, look at the little details of the vehicle, because you have already articulated your value proposition. But let's go back to a couple of other concepts there. Remember that as a business person, I'm going to judge you on the quality of those little touch points that make the experience. See? And that's why you need to pay attention to those elements, because this is what's going to happen to you. I am a potential client of a law firm. I have an issue. I'm calling my friend Kim and says, Kim, can you recommend your law firm? And they'll say, yes, of course. Firm, and ask for Mark. Excellent, I'll do that. So what do? I pick up the phone. First I go on your webpage and see, what you're saying, how you presenting your image to me, and I'll see that it's attractive. I pick up the phone and call the firm. There is a nice receptionist who answers the phone with a greeting, an introduction, and an offer of assistance. Good morning, thank you for calling ICG. This is Mary, how may I assist you? Oh, I'd like to speak with Mark. Certainly, sir. Allow me to transfer the call. Oh, thank you so much. You're most welcome. By the way, if you don't answer the phone this way, you're not doing it right. Simple things, but they're important. And so I'm able then to talk to the secretary of Mark. She makes an appointment right away, and she confirms it via email. She also attached a PDF with the direction to the firm and how to validate my parking ticket, or how do I get from there to from the station or whatever. And as I arrive, the receptionist already knows that I was coming. Oh, you must be Mr. Inghilleri. Welcome to our firm. We were expecting you. So glad to meet you. And then Mary shows up, and I get into a nice conference room. Everything is nicely organized and set up, and finally Mark arrives. I've never met Mark. I don't even know if he's a good lawyer. But because you have executed all those other little touch points well, by the time Mark shows up in the room, I almost trust him. Wouldn't you? Yes or no? Of course, it's the power of first impression. Really, really important. Right? So, okay. That's how you build the experience. Now, all this, however, ultimately create client satisfaction, which is really not what you need. You need client loyalty. So how do you transition a satisfied client to loyalty? Because that's the tricky part. Very few people know how to do that. Well, there are really two avenues. One is through repetitions. You keep on doing what you're doing over and over and over and over and over, and eventually you form a habit, right? That is habitual loyalty. Is it good? Yes. Is it the best way? No. First of all, it takes a long, long time, number one, to form a habit. How many of you have kids? Raise your hand if you have kids, right? So how many of you were kids? All of you? At a certain point now, you remember your parents or you as a parent, the struggles that you had in teaching the habits of brushing teeth to your kids, right? Every single day, every single night, you had to repeat it over and over and over. And yes, you need to put toothpaste, and yes, you need to use water until, finally they went to college and you did not have to call them every night and say, did you brush your teeth, right? So in other words, what did you do? You formed a habit. Tedious, long, painful process. So not the best way to go that way. Now, another way is by creating an emotional connection with your clients. Now, that's a tricky thing. How do you connect emotionally with your clients? Well, the only way, really, is to fulfill their individual needs. In other words, we go back to the concept of a personal benefit. If you understand what's important for those clients and you're able to satisfy the individual needs of those clients, right, then you deliver what is called personalized service. And there is nothing better than personalized service. Do you agree? That is the highest level of service, is delivering products and services that are exactly made for the client. When you do this, now you have an emotional connection with that client. And the great thing about emotional connections is they are somewhat illogical. And they love to be part of something without a real reason. I mean, that's kind of human nature. We like to belong. We like to be part of clubs. We like to be members of organizations. We want to be part of something. We want to be loyal to organizations, not only for the little benefits, it's not only the frequent flyer concept. We want to be part of, because we want to be part of that exclusive club group that is loyal to an organization. As a matter of fact, in the luxury business, there are no frequent flyer points. Do you realize that? Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, any luxury organization, they don't give you anything. They'll just say, when you come to us, we'll give you an experience that is exactly how you want it. And that is worth much more than all the little points that anybody else can give you. Do you agree? They build a personal benefit. Now, how do you do that in your business? It's not that complicated. What you need to do is really to pay attention to your clients. That's revelation number one. Pay attention to your clients. That means you need to study them. You need to have data. I mean, it's fascinating how industries that are really not that intellectually gifted, the hotel industry, for instance. My dad is a lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer because my dad is a lawyer, obviously, so. And I will always remember that when I was back in school, he would look at me and says, son, if you fail at school, I'm going to send you to the hotel school. So imagine the type of appreciation that had when I chose to work in the hotel business, So, I think we started to talk again some 15 years ago. He's 85. So it took a long time. Now, but how is it possible that you have, organizations like hotels that can log all the preferences of a customer base that is enormous, and they remember what you like, what you dislike, what you did last time you were with them, if everything was perfect or if you had an issue, etc. And then you look at law firms populated by intellectually gifted individuals at all levels and lawyers with relatively few clients, because you do not have that many clients compared to hotel company, and you don't remember their preferences. You do not know them intimately. You don't know all the details, and you should. Yes, ma'am. Right, so the issue is that the lawyers don't do that. Well, okay, I know it is difficult to work with lawyers. I agree. The question, well, it's more of a point that lawyers are not, they don't necessarily focus on understanding the individual needs of the clients, like, for instance, typical sales organization would. So they don't ask those questions. They don't log those preferences. But that's where you need to step up to the plate and say, if we want to be better and different than the competition, we need to start doing this, because otherwise we will be commoditized. We'll be like anybody else. And by the way, it is not that complicated. Because you see, if you think about the main marketing avenues that your lawyers use all the time, to connect with their clients, what do? They want to go and play golf, yes? Or they're going to take them to the ball game, right? Or they're going to take them to an expensive restaurant, yes? And those are the three main processes that your lawyers use to establish a personal connection with their clients, yes? Do you agree? That's what they do. Check their expense accounts. That's what they do all the time. Now, and to me that is relatively silly, because that might work with some clients, but not with all. For instance, I'm on the road 150, 170 days a year, so I'm constantly traveling. And my wife is an excellent cook. I'm a very good kitchen supervisor, so when she cooks, I supervise. Stir that a little more. Now I clean the kitchen, and I notice that the amount of dirty pots increases exponentially based upon the amount of advice that I give during meal preparation. That's a different story. So in any case, going back to my lawyer, when my lawyer wants to take me out for dinner, it's taking me away from a great evening with my wife, where I can supervise what she's cooking, right? Now, my partner likes to go out for dinner, and so I often am forced to go with them. But then I make sure that I order the wine, and the lawyer will regret the decision of taking me out for dinner that day, right? What else do they want to do? They want to take you to play golf. I hate golf. I mean, do I play golf? Of course. I grew up in corporate America. I can whack the ball. To me, I can just go through the course with a 5-iron and a putter, and I'll be perfectly fine. I go out with a 3-wood just because you need to have something a little bigger. Otherwise, kind of, you feel inadequate. I cheat like a whore of Babylon on the golf course. I just want to get over as soon as possible so that we can go and have a drink. And so, as soon as they turn their back, I just putt with my foot and say, oh, did you sink this? Of course, let's move. Now, by the way, my score is always, it's always a 3-digit score. So, I'm always the last, and it doesn't really matter. I don't like golf. Don't take me golfing. And if you want to give me tickets for the ball game, give me the tickets, I'll take my kids. I don't want to be with you at the ball game. Why? Now, how can you connect, therefore, with me at a personal level? For instance, at the very beginning, I told you a few things about myself, yes? Do you remember? What did I tell you? A couple of things. I have 3 sons, yes. I have a passion for my 3rd one. What else? Married 25 years, yes. What else? I practice martial arts, yes. So if you wanted to use some of this knowledge to connect with me emotionally, what would you do? Not complicated. This is what you do. Instead of spending $200-300 for a good dinner and more for a round of golf, etc., you go to the bookstore and you buy Taekwondo Times, $3.50. You take the magazines, you open it anywhere, you look at it, you take a sticker, you put it there and you write down, interesting article, exclamation point. You do not need to read the article, just put a sticker there, right? You take, it doesn't matter, interesting article. You take, on top, you say, dear Leonardo, I was thinking about you when I saw this magazine. On page 50, there is an article on sparring. Why would people even, beat each other? I don't know. There is an interesting article on sparring. Let's get together one of these days, Best regards, Bill. You put it in an envelope, $1.50, stamp, you send it to me. Now, as a client, when I see an envelope from a law firm, what's my first mental image? It's a bill. So am I happy about that? No. So I says, oh, another one of those. Then I open it and pull it out and I see Taekwondo time. Oh, that's interesting. Bill. Oh, article on page 50, sparring. Oh, wow. Bill is a good lawyer, isn't it? So now my partner Bob walks into my office and says, you remember that little old lady who tripped on our front door 3 months ago? She's suing us for $1 gazillion. What do you think we should do? Oh, we need to call Bill. Of course. $5 investment. And you connected with me at an emotional level. Simple things. This is not complicated. Now, the tricky part, as you were saying, how do you convince the lawyers to do those things? Well, hire me to train them, and that's the way it is. I'll do it. I'll beat them into submission. I do that all the time. Because, by the way, they are intellectually gifted. But interestingly enough, once you convince them that they need to go that way, they will. Now, okay, we have another couple of minutes, then I want to have a few minutes for question and answers. What are you going to do different? How are you going to differentiate your firm from the competition? My challenge to you is think about one thing. Don't now go back and try to reinvent the wheel, because remember that you're dealing with a culture, the lawyers' cultures, that is risk adverse and resistant to change. Yes? Do I get an amen for that? Yes, I get that, right? So, now don't try to be revolutionary in law firms, because that will, it won't be a successful strategy. Identify one item that you want to eliminate, and identify one process that you want to start. Accomplish those two things. Take away a thorn and add something. Once you're done with that, go to the next one. Eliminate a defect, a problem, an issue, and add something. Don't try with lawyers to revolutionize their great little partnerships, and don't try to kill concepts like collegiality. I mean, when I see, the values of firms, and have you ever looked at those websites? And I'm sure you're always checking your competition, and they all say the same thing. When it comes to the values of a law firm, there is probably a handful of firms that is able to articulate a different culture or a different identity, a handful. Most of them talk about the same things that are all inner focus, because that's what lawyers do. They want to talk about themselves. And that's fine. That's fine. So think about one thing you're going to do different and one thing you're going to eliminate, something you're going to add, something you're going to take away. First. And then most importantly, think about how to create a brand, because that is your job, to convince your partnership that you need to be better and different. Think about a great example of a better and different company, Starbucks, right? I mean, Starbucks, when they came into the coffee shop arena eons ago, what did they do? They looked at what was the competition, traditionally coffee shop, pretty, casual, ordinary businesses, and they say, we're going to be different and better. And whether you like their coffee or not is inconsequential. They say, we're going to standardize the product, and it's going to be a high quality one. Then we're going to take these stores and make them distinctive in terms of look. The tree lamps and the couches and the color schemes and the equipment, etc. And then we're going to train the people to behave differently. We're all going to put them in a nice green polo shirt and a black apron, and suddenly they're able to charge you $1 million per cup of coffee. Yes or no? Yes. What they basically found a chair to stand up and say, hey, this is the universe of coffee shops. We're here. We're better and different. Well, that's the challenge that you have. How are you going to be better and different? That's your challenge. That's your challenge. Now, in closing, I want to leave you with another revelation. Revelation number 2. Excellence is, write it down. Excellence is a pain. Do you know that? Excellence is a pain. You cannot think that you can now change an organization like a law firm, conservative in nature, slow to react, resistance to change, without pain. It's going to be a painful process. Extraordinary results cannot be accomplished with ordinary efforts either. You know, that's impossible too. Ordinary and extraordinary, they don't mix and match. So, however, if you create your little roadmap for excellence, and it is going to be painful, and you need to have the courage to execute it, because that is the difference between those of you who are excellent in nature and those of you who are not. Not everybody is excellent. We know that. Like not everybody is going to be an Olympic game finalist. You know, not everybody is. There are only few organizations, few professionals who can label themselves as excellent. And what separates them from others is that they are courageous. Now, what's courage? Courage is a simple thing. It's to be able to go past the point other people think it's safe. There is a line here that says safe. Courageous person takes the steps and say, let's see what happens. Good. You know, that's courage. You go past the point other people think it's safe. You want to be better and different, you need also to be courageous. And having said that, I want to thank you for your attention and patience with me today. And I am ready for Q&A, if any. Thank you so much, by the way. All right. Terrific. Questions? Yes, ma'am. Right. Absolutely. Right. It's not only motivating the staff, and the issue is for those who, you know, I'm not sure that you heard it, is, you know, it's not only the lawyers, it's the firm in general, it is also those executive staff and the administrative staff. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the low-hanging fruits is actually to train the staff to behave differently, and then based upon the results and the successes that you accomplish with the staff, that gives you an opportunity to go back to the lawyers and say, hey, you know, the staff is doing all these things and we're improving client satisfaction. Wouldn't it be nice if you could do the same thing too, right? Like answering your phone properly, you know, for instance. Well, there are absolutely, we do that all the time. You know, as a matter of fact, we spend probably more time training the staff because they are always willing to add value, you know, so absolutely, and it's a very good point. What else? Any other issue? Yes, sir.
I just have a question about
Please.
I was there maybe a year or so ago, and I picked up a courtesy phone somewhere in the hotel, and I called, and they answered the phone. Hello, Mr. Crawford, how can I help you? How did they know who I was if I wasn't calling from my room?
You know, if I could tell you that, then I have to kill you.
Could you tell me?
Right.
Do they have something in place where they know who everybody is?
I'll tell you, that is a really tricky thing, particularly on a courtesy phone. No, there is no way you could track unless, now if it was in an elevator landing are camera monitored, and if you had someone, but that would be really, really tricky. Really, really tricky. Now, at the same time, yes, there is a way to recognize how many times you arrive at the door, at the porte cochere, the bellman or the doorman greets you by name right away because they check the luggage tag and all these things, as they open the trunk of the taxi, and then you notice that a lot of them have little communication devices. They don't have the radios. They have things that are pretty slick, they like the microphone is in the sleeve, etc. So by the time you get to the front desk, they know exactly who you are and they can greet you at a personal level.
They don't like slip a bug in your pocket or your
No, no. It would be too complicated and too expensive, I'll tell you. No, not at all. But what shows, however, is that there are. First of all, how do you feel when you are recognized at the personal level? Let me ask that question to you.
It depends on where I am.
Yes.
If I'm in Nordstrom or Ritz
Yeah.
Carlton, a place like that, I sort of expect it. If I walk into McDonald's and they know who I am, I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, that's a good answer. But I would think that in general, personal recognition, including at a McDonald's, if it is the same person and is, by the way, treats you nicely and is so nice, instead of saying next, next is not a greeting. You know that? Next is not a greeting. Good morning, welcome to McDonald's. So nice seeing you again. Welcome back. I don't even have to know your name, but if I've seen you, then I want to acknowledge the fact that you are back.
For like 5 years.
Right. Wow. And that's good for you. But the idea is that, listen, ultimately, client service, it's all about ego. Think about it. It's all about ego. You want to make sure that, now ego is not, it's not a bad word. It's Latin for I, personal, me, right? Treat me as an individual, make me feel special. And so organizations like Nordstrom, Ritz-Carlton, Four Seasons, Amazon, Zappos, American Express, all of them. You don't have to be a luxury organization. Zappos is not a luxury organization. Online shoe retailer. Have you ever seen a discounted offer from Zappos ever? No, they don't. You know why? Because they don't need to. Because they're really good at what they're doing. And they'll treat you in a very special way. There's Booksar story. Their books are full of Zappos stories, as there are books full of Ritz-Carlton and Nordstrom and Four Seasons and other great organizations. Well, what are you waiting to write your first pages of those books? What are you going to do in your firm to make it different? How are you going to make me as a client feel special, unique? What's my personal benefit? And by the way, that's really your job. You're the marketers. Now, then you have a tough sale internally, because now you're dealing with a group of people who say, oh, it's not about the client, it's all about us. Isn't that true? I know. But that's why, it's a painful process. Other questions? Take one more if there is, otherwise we'll, yes ma'am. Well, right, I did not want to make it that complicated, frankly, but it is connected to that. And the issue is that people love to be recognized, and the moment that they are recognized, the moment that they feel recognized, the moment that they feel value for who they are and what they do, they are willing to repeat the experience. That's also the problem with addictions in general, right? You derive a benefit or something that gratifies you right there, and that's why it's difficult to stop an addiction. Now, That's not what we're talking in this case. Is you want to create an addictive behavior, because that's what loyalty is ultimately. You want to create an addictive behavior with your clients. You want to make them addicted to your services, to your firm. I mean, it's kind of a rough example, but that's what it is. You want them to come back all the time and buy more of your services. And the way to do it is really to get to know them at a personal level, satisfy their unique needs, make them feel special, make them feel important, have them, look at themselves in the mirror and says, wow, look at those feathers of mine, because that's what it is. We all love that. I mean, not all, but most of us like to be recognized. So, does this answer a little bit your question? We can talk more about that if you want. It's a complicated item there. Anything else? Did you enjoy this conference, by the way? Yes or no? All right, terrific. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, we'll see you soon, hopefully. And by the way, let me just give you my new email address so you can have it just in case. It will be Leonardo, like Da Vinci, Leonardo, at IC, as in Charlie, G, as in golf, icgresults.com. Leonardo at icgresults.com. Come and visit us on our website, call me, It was great to see you. Good luck. Travel safe back home, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you.
See you in a month from now.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking about, oh, this is a mistake, I think. Let's do that.